So now I'm on the cruise ship Balmoral, and we're just about to depart from Edinburgh out into the deep blue sea to Norway, and then to the Shetland Islands, the Orkney Islands, and the Hebrides, and some of the Western Isles. So I'll be soaking up some Viking history, some Neolithic history, and some beautiful scenery. The sun is shining for our departure. We head out into the Forth. A good omen. Here we go. What a sight it is to see the grand bridges of Edinburgh, especially the Forth Bridge, the old Victorian one. That's the red one, by the way. The next morning we came into port at Haugesund. The Haug, or barrow you can see here with the obelisk on top, is actually a modern construction on the alleged site of the grave of the Viking king Harald Fairhair. Its erection here established the importance of the area to the history of Norway. But actually, Haugesund isn't so important, rather the little island just south of it is. It's called Karmøy, and it boasts Norway's so-called Viking capital, Avaldsnes. So I borrowed a car from a helpful fan and drove to the Karmøy Bridge for my first stop. A visit to 5 naughty Norwegian virgins who are, I'm assured, a marvellous sight to behold. Karmøy is just the other side of the water, beyond my wife and kids. This is the Karmøy Strait, which was a busy traffic route for shipping access to the north, even in ancient times, far preferable to the treacherous open seas. Thunder roared above when we arrived, which is fitting because, according to the mythic poem Grimnismal, this strait is one of the waters which the thunder god Thor himself has to wade through daily to join the other gods at the world ash tree. The 5 bad virgins is the name given to a group of standing stones arranged in a 3-pronged shape around a small burial mound from around 300 AD. The burial included a bronze cremation urn which also contained bear claws. I'm Tom Rousel, here in Norway. Rather a spooky sight, despite the fact that now it's surrounded by rather pleasant waterside properties and an impressive but not so pleasant to behold bridge to Avaldsnes. Over in the distance you can see some industrial buildings, and this is an active port area, formerly a very important fishing port in the Viking era, and as a result it became strategically important also for many of the great kings of Norway during the Viking Age. But this predates that, obviously, by many centuries. These stones are from a time long before the Vikings, when this area still had significance. These stones even predate the mighty King Ålfold, after whom Avaldsnes is named. A king whose story was told to the Christian King Olaf by Odin himself in the form of Grim. It's the story of his sacred cow that gave King Ålfold victory and strength through its milk. Now these stones would have been old even in King Ålfold's time. If King Ålfold lived, he would have lived in approximately the 600s, the 7th century, whereas these are from the 4th century probably. And the burial, I believe, was in the mound here in the centre.
The monument acquired its name from a Christian legend about 5 young virgins who turned to stone after their amorous advances were rebuffed by Saint Olaf Haraldsson. The church at Avaldsnes which is visible from the 5 bad virgins, is named after St. Olaf. We're headed that way next, but first we'll be stopping at another pagan burial ground.
This is a Bronze Age burial ground called Rehaugane. And this particular barrow is called Guttormshaugen. That means the good snake's barrow, or God snake's barrow. That must have been the person that they thought was buried in it. Local folklore here in Avaldsnes holds that these barrows were related to a great Viking battle between King Harald Fairhair and Eric Bloodaxe, which took place right here. But the barrows, when excavated, are clearly nothing to do with any Viking battle, because there's 6 barrows here, and formerly there were more, but all of them are Nordic Bronze Age barrows, so they're more closer to 2,000 years older than the Viking Age. So these ones are from around, 1300 to 1700 BC. And they've contained several grave goods, swords, and a birch coffin and bits of gold, all are in the museums in Oslo and Bergen now. The menhir probably dates from the same time, but I'm not sure. Hello.
A larger grave field of 13 barrows can be found a little to the north in an area called Gunnarshaug. One of these barrows, dating to the 8th century, which was known as Storhaug, the Great Barrow, contained the oldest ship burial in Norway. It isn't this one because Storhaug ain't so store these days, so I couldn't find it. But it looked much like this once upon a time, and it was close by. This diorama at the Norwegian History Centre in Avaldsnes depicts the interior of a Viking ship burial. A king laid out with all his finery, and a gaming set, in case he gets bored in Valhalla. This one depicts a man who has retrieved the skull of an ancestor from a barrow. Barrows were places where the living could convene with the dead through necromantic rites. From the Bronze Age barrows at Rehaugane, you can clearly see St. Olaf's church, and according to another folktale, St. Olaf tricked a troll who lived inside one of the barrows at the Rehaugane into building this church for him. In reality, the church was likely founded by the other Olaf, the brutal warlord Olaf Tryggvason, but that would have been wooden, so this church is much younger. The troll, like the virgins, was turned by St. Olaf into a standing stone. The menhir, which is in fact a pre-Christian pagan monument, leans close to the church wall, and local legend holds that the world will end on the day it touches the church. Apparently, priests have been chipping bits off over time to save the world from Ragnarök. This video is sponsored by Legent. The Austrian zoologist and Nobel Prize laureate Konrad Lorenz analysed the behaviour of humans in the same way he analysed animal behaviours. He realised that overpopulation and technology can cause problems, and many of those problems are still relevant today. He explained the major threats to humans in his very long book, Civilized Man's 8 Deadly Sins. Now you can absorb all the fascinating information within without actually reading it. Most non-fiction books often consist of only 20% new info, and the rest is stuff you already knew. Legent condenses all the new, essential and original ideas in a book into a more succinct text, which you can read or listen to as an audio file in 25 minutes or less. You can learn from your phone wherever you are, and it's a much more efficient form of learning. You can acquire a thorough understanding of Lorenz's important book just by listening to this short. It's as though you read it and took notes on the key concepts, except you can skip the long process and save time. There is a 7-day money-back guarantee in case you don't like it. And if you sign up now with promo code STJ10, then you can get 10% off. I highly recommend this innovative new service.
Is this a troll's cave in Norway? Or just a dung-filled sheep's house? Give it a sniff, boy. I think it's for sheep. Apparently, if I walk along this path for a while, I will eventually come to something that resembles a Viking Age village. Complete with the Jarl's Longhouse. The weather is on and off here in Norway. It's rained twice, but now it's sunny. Hello, Mr. Sheep. Okay, I found it. Here's the entrance, the Bukkøy Viking Garden. A little runestone as you enter. Smell of wood fire as you enter. Here's the longhouse. So we have a look inside the Viking longhouse. Divided up internally into different sections. Perhaps private dwelling in here. Oh, that's just not for the tourists. And here, the main room. It's really dark inside, even though it's a broad daylight outside. And they've got windows here on the side, which I'm not sure whether they would have had those actually. So it could have been even darker. Despite the fact there's no chimney, there isn't a lot of smoke in here. There is an opening at the top for the smoke to escape, and it leaves quite easily, it seems. I'm not sure if it's light enough for you to see, but there's benches along the side. And here's the bed.
What is best in life? Cross your enemies, see the devil before you, and hear the lamentations of the living.
So here's a round house. Apparently these were found in some Viking Age excavations, but they don't really know what they're for. They've put a little Odin on the top of it, which is pure invention.
That god called.
And they've decided to say it looked a little bit like a temple, but it's not really serious. Here you've got a new age kind of tree of life and some Viking, some kind of modern interpretations of Viking stuff. And inside they've got some an interesting mix of cultural influences here. There's a bed here, so maybe they don't really want it to be a temple, but they've got some nice ermine and fox. And there's these light holders, which look a little bit Turkish to me. Yes, Jewish Vikings here. Some charcoal symbols. Isn't that the Order of the Nine Angles written on there? I don't know if the people who work here are responsible for writing these symbols up over pentagrams. I think they're using it as a storage room. Here's a nice little wand with some runes on it. And it's a bit new agey in here actually. But up here you've got some gods. There's Lording, Odin, and a Buddha, presumably in reference to the Buddha statue that was found in Sweden, the Viking age. One little tiny Buddha statue was found in Sweden. Some people make like a big deal of that and say that there were Viking Buddhists. There weren't. This is based on a Norwegian carving from the ship burial at Ålesund on the side of a wagon. It's nice. Yeah, well, it's a lovely little construction, but I think the decor is a bit Wiccan for my taste, rather than authentic Viking. Quite a fun little place to come anyway. Some reasonable reconstructions, the best of which are the longhouses, I suppose. It's a little pleasant place if it's not raining. Olaf Tryggvason, a cursed Galilean butcher, kidnapper of children, murderer of holy men, and worker of woe for Frey and all the Aesir, was here in this fair land for Avaldsnes, and it's said he built the church, St. Olaf's. It's not named after him, it's named after Saint Olaf, but apparently he started that building. One of his dastardly deeds in this region, apparently, was that he took the priests of the holy native faith and tied them to that rock so that when the tide came in, they were drowned. I spit upon him and all who praise him. The view up on this bridge. I've got a ship to catch over there. That's my ship in the harbour. I figured I'd move on because it leaves in 20 minutes. I haven't given myself much time. Very quaint little place. It's got a mixture of like industrial harshness and tourist sort of not exactly chic, but tourist crap, and also some lovely countryside and some beautiful archaeology, the barrows and everything. Definitely recommend coming to Haugesund if you can. There's my boat, my ship I mean. My ship, don't leave without me. She's a good old girl. Don't leave without me. Here I come. All aboard. Okay, until next time.
Avaldsnes is incredibly rich in history, but less so on scenery. Back aboard, we set a course for the incredibly beautiful Hardangerfjord and its sidearm, the Ulvik fjorden, at the end of which is the picturesque village of Ulvik, known for its orchards. My son was getting cabin fever and had to be thoroughly exercised up on deck. He was looking forward to the next stop, where he could probably stretch his legs and wouldn't have to wait around while I filmed barrows and such. As we progressed inland down the fjord, the landscape began to resemble a typically epic Norwegian postcard. To get ashore, we had to make use of a tender boat, with which my son was delighted.
Now I've arrived in Ulvik, a beautiful fjord surrounding here in Norway. You can see my cruise ship down there in the fjord. I arrived this morning and now I'm hiking up into the hills to try and sample some of the local cider that is grown in this region, which I am a little bit skeptical of, since I live in the West Country of England, which is the cider capital of the world, but I'll give it a chance at least. I think that Norway's geography is like a mixture of Sweden and Scotland. It kind of looks like Scottish hills but with Swedish buildings, and instead of Swedish lakes or Scottish lochs you have fjords, which are their own uniquely Norwegian trait. But it's really also not really like any landscape I've ever been to in the world. It's really quite breathtakingly beautiful, and there's snow on the tops of the mountains even in middle of summer, which is, wow, it must be cold up there, I think. But yeah, I think another reason it's like Scotland is because it is the most, you know, Scotland is to Britain as Norway is to Scandinavia. It's the more scenic part of the landmass, for sure, although historically not the most populous. That would be England and Sweden respectively, and those regions inevitably dominate history because of the larger number of people and better farmland to support them. Well, the hike hasn't gone to plan. I've had to send my wife and kids back to the ship because we are not going to make it back in time otherwise. Whereas I've continued at running pace to get to my intended viewpoint high up above the fjord at Jobbist, it's called. And if I can get there and get a shot of it, and then I'll have to run back just like last time. I'll be the last man aboard. Unpopular with the crew probably, but you've got to make the most of every opportunity. Aha! Your biscuit. I'm in the right place. Is it down this path? I think it is. Oh! Gotta move quickly. Oh, wow!
I don't have to do anything.
No, it's filming. Okay, I've made it, and these kind German tourists are holding the camera for me. Here's the great view of Jobbist, I think it's pronounced, and it was worth it. But now I'd better run back to the ship or I'll be in trouble. Thank you. Do you want to be on the camera? Can I put you in the film?
Yes, can you?
Okay.
Yes, you can.
Dankeschön.
Oh, yes.
Auf Wiedersehen.
Bye.
I'll just show you this side of the fjord as well before I go. Helpful German. Look at that. Wow, what a marvellous place. Okay. And there's blueberries as a little treat while I'm up here to sustain me for my run back. Okay, that's enough. Off we go. No time to relax like the boomers on the cruise. I have to live life in the fast lane. Signing out. Okay, I made it out of the woods to the cows, and I have somehow overtaken my wife and kids who took a different route through the forest. So now I better wait here for them so I can carry them. I think I can see them as little dots in the distance there up on the hill. So yeah, I'll just chill here with my buddies. It's a nice Norwegian cow. You're not so interested. This one's giving me the cold shoulder. The ship is still in the harbour, so it looks like I'm going to make it. I've got about an hour left to get to the last tender out to the cruise ship. You can see it's all the way out there behind those trees. Hey, look at these little calves. Oh, don't be scared. Don't be scared. Ah. Don't be scared. They're still, the young ones get quite spooked easily. Well, I better go and pick up my son and carry him the rest of the way. I don't think I'll be able to film anymore, so wish me luck. Bye. Okay, I got the kids. I got the wife. The ship is still in the harbour. I think we're going to make it. We've got to get down there and get the tender, the crossing over to the ship. Come on, boy. You will not see me there. Come here, boy. You're not allowed to go through the orchard. That's not your orchard. After a long run in the hills, as you can still see behind me, I get a quick dip in the pool on board the top deck. I can still admire the fjords all around. Not bad.
Overnight, we sailed out of Hardangerfjord, out into the open sea, and then back inland down the Nordfjord, where we enjoyed some spectacular scenery.
Another day, another stop. Today I'm in Olden, a little town up at the top of a fjord. It looks a little bit like Switzerland and some of these peaks everywhere, but the houses look more like Swedish houses, of course. Walking into town, going to see what's going on here, maybe have a little hike. There are some glaciers nearby, but I'm not going to bother going on any tours or anything. Happy to just have a little fika and a little hike in the hills. I'll try my best not to be late getting back this time. I found them. The native Norwegians' interesting phenotypes. Trolls of the north. Yeah, this is your common dick-nosed wood troll of the fjord. Fearsome creatures. Hope they don't scare my children. This one used to be a stave church long ago, but they replaced it with this church instead.
Back aboard that night, we headed yet further north to our final stop in Norway, the city of Ålesund, allegedly the cradle of the Norman race.
Well, I've come into harbour at a rather rainy Ålesund in northern Norway, or mid-northern Norway, Western Norway rather, I suppose, and yeah, it's not looking so nice. So my son and I have boarded one of these tourist trains, which I've never succumbed to previously on any of my travels, but it did seem like a wise choice given the weather, and my son is not particularly interested in walking around the town in the rain. Left the wife and the other child on board to have an extra sleep because they had a rough night. But currently there's some lovely Art Nouveau buildings in this city, so I'll enjoy looking around and hopefully I'll find a half-decent cup of coffee. Not always available on board. So, let's see. Well, here we look over the sound over the harbour on a rainy, foggy day with very low visibility in Ålesund. Not the tourist photos you see on the internet of what they call Norway's most beautiful city, but yeah, quite atmospheric, I'll give it that. Well, the driver made some funny jokes about enjoying Norway's beautiful weather. Typical deadpan Nordic humour. My son has opted to stay on the train. Oh, he wants me to get him off. I'll go and get him. Rollo, grandfather of William the Conqueror, founder of the Normans. The people of Ålesund are very proud of their belief that Rollo, or Hrolfr, was born here. I am not sure if he really was. Certainly, I think that it's debated, but to the people of Ålesund, the debate is settled already, and this monument is intended to sort of affirm their claim to fame, that the founder of the Norman dynasties, the kings ruled northern France and England and parts of Ireland and Sicily, were in fact rooted here originally. They sprung forth from this northern coastal town. It's a really cool statue, that's for sure. What does it say on here? Gange-Rolv, that means Rolf the Walker, stamfar Wilhelm Erobereren monumentet gitt som gave fra byen Ruen. Not sure about the costume he's wearing. Seems a bit Victorian ideas there, wearing a sort of a tunic. I think he would have worn trousers, actually, like most people did in those days. Most of the Germanic peoples always wore trousers, especially in the Viking age. So yeah, but yeah, the tash is on point. I'm liking that. Probably one of my ancestors, almost certainly one of my ancestors, because I do descend from a number of Normans. So yeah, there he is. Okay, it's over. Goodbye, Norway. I'm headed back now to Britain. Next stop is the Shetland Islands. And it's been great here in Norway, but now I've got a lot of Neolithic and Norse history to look at after I board this ship and get something to drink. See you there.
Join me in part 2, where I will be visiting Britain's northernmost region, the Shetland Islands. I shall be leaving my family behind in Scandinavia, but I hope you will join me for the rest of my Hyperborean Odyssey, with lashings of whiskey. Are you interested in worshipping the gods of ancient England and Scandinavia, but you're not sure how to do it? Starting Heathenry is a ritual-focused online course which will furnish you with the knowledge and confidence to practice the heathen religion, alone or with others. The course teaches you how to construct heathen prayers for yourself, not according to the established rites of any modern group, but according to what historical sources show. Starting Heathenry assumes you're interested in Germanic paganism, know about the gods and myths, and want to begin practicing this religion, but require guidance on how to do so.
It is based on a micro-learning structure, which is proven to improve knowledge retention by up to 80% in students compared to other learning methods. You get more than 5 hours of learning material, bit by bit, as you please. A modern method of learning about an ancient religion. Your path to knowing the gods through ritual starts here.